So, what if the very thing you've been praised for, being the one who always handles everything, is also the thing that's quietly costing you your relationships, your health, and your joy? Women are often celebrated for carrying more, for giving more, and holding everyone else together. Who feels that out there? I do. I know Jacquelyn does. But beneath this strength is an invisible load that few people ever actually see. So, today's conversation, we're going to be exploring why asking for help feels so difficult, what it costs us when we don't ask, and how building a true village isn't a luxury. It's one of the most important leadership decisions we'll ever make. Stay with us because before this episode ends, you'll likely rethink what strength really means to you and discover one simple question that could completely change how you carry your life. Please welcome Jacquelyn Fletcher Johnson to the show today. Jacquelyn, thanks for joining us.
Thank you. Hi, Vicki. It's so good to see you.
Well, it's great having you here. And, I just want to share with our audience, Jacquelyn is a storytelling coach. She's got lots of stories to share with us today, so I'm excited to jump in. And she has spent 30 years in media and in journalism. She's also the co-creator of an episode called Healing Words TV show. So Jacquelyn, thank you for being here. I'm excited to jump in on this conversation because I am probably, one of the guiltiest people for not asking for so I was super excited to have you on the show. And let's begin. And we're going to just jump right into the toughest question of all, which is, you talk about a lot of people struggle to say, I need you. And, I really want to talk about why these three words make us feel so much more vulnerable than saying, I'm overwhelmed or I'm fine. So let's just get right to the heart of things.
Yeah, let's just dive right in. I love it. Well, I think, I would say that this is a tough thing to ask for high achieving women, especially because it's an admittance that you can't do it all. It feels like it's a weak thing to say. And so it makes it really difficult when holding yourself to a certain level of capability, resilience, achievement, accomplishment, whatever that looks like, ambition, and you can't do everything. It feels like it might be a weakness. And so I think that's partly why, at least I know that for myself,
Mm-hmm.
it has certainly been a weakness. But I also think part of asking for help is also, it's not what I'm supposed to do. As a firstborn, somebody who has her own company for 25 years, like you just don't do it. And that's how I was raised. And of course, I found out the exact opposite is true, that we need to ask for help, that it's critical to ask for help, that it is a strength to ask for help. And we can talk more about how I learned that, but I know that's true now.
Yeah. Good for you. Good for you. I'm still taking baby steps personally. And when you were just saying that, it really resonates with me because, yesterday I was working on my thesis and this is actually a topic that I'm exploring and researching is the trust, the power, and the invisible load, especially on women leaders. And I was going through my reflection section thinking about why do I still have such difficulty asking for help? And a part of it, everything is exactly what you said. Yes. But then there's also the external expectation. And you just mentioned how you were raised. And I certainly feel that from my own mother. And mom, I love you. I know if you're listening, I love you.
Yes.
But it puts a almost an unrealistic expectation on you. And I know I feel bad when she says, but Vicki, you've always been able to carry it all. And God made you stronger than most people because you're able to do these things. And then I'm sitting there going, no, I'm tired.
Oh my gosh, we are kindred spirits.
That's why I wanted you on the show.
Yes. Oh my gosh. I distinctly remember this moment when I was talking to my dad, and I have a younger sister who's quite a lot younger than I am. And he had said at one point, oh, I can't believe all the things that I let you do that I did not allow your sister to do. And he said, but you were always so capable.
Oh, okay.
And I was like, that's both a gift and a curse,
Yes. Yes.
right? And then the people around you expect you to be the person who is capable and can carry heavy things. And so There was this moment where I finally learned the lesson. And let me tell you, Vicki, I still slip all the time. Like I still really have struggles asking for help, but it's easier than it used to be because in 2020, I was diagnosed with breast cancer and I went through that journey. I came out the other side fantastic. But I sat down with my family afterward and I said, you guys all went through this with me. So what did you learn? What was the experience like for you? And my husband said something I will never ever forget. It gave me full body chills, made me sad. He said, "I learned self-reliance." And in that yeah. And in that moment I realized how much I was overdoing for everyone in my life, my family, my team, and it was just a knee-jerk reaction. It was just how I was made. And so it took breast cancer, honestly, for me to be like, Jackie, you have to stand down and you have to ask for help.
Wow. I mean, I can see why that gave you chills, and so powerful that your husband had that awareness and that he communicated that to you. Like, that's huge, because there is this internal constant drive of, yes, everyone expects this. And, that's what I call the invisible load. We create that.
Yes.
And then, it's so difficult to recognize when we're carrying too much, and are we enabling those we love because we carry so much.
Yes. It is hard to recognize because it's just so much a part of what you do.
Yeah.
I didn't even question it. This is just what I do. And so it took a lot to be aware myself of the places where I was just automatically doing something without even thinking about it, or doing something because I felt discomfort if something wasn't done or wasn't done the way I would do it, or all of that kind of stuff. And so I've really had to sit on my own hands a lot and to say, "Hey, it's okay if that person doesn't do it the way you do it. It's fine." Like just this morning, I got an episode from this wonderful, an episode of my podcast from this absolutely wonderful video editor. It's wonderful. She did a fantastic job. There was this one part that I was like, "Oh, I would tweak this whole thing," and I was like, "But do you need to?"
Mm,
And so I
great
watched
question.
it, right? And so I watched it again, and I was like, "No, I do not need to. Leave it alone." Yeah.
Love that. Love that. And such a powerful question. Do I actually need to? Right? It's so interesting you say that, because I had something over the weekends very different. It was more for caregiving for my mom. And my daughter looked at me, young daughter, and she is so wise beyond her years. And she was like, Mom, somebody else can do that. You don't have to
Uh,
be the one. And I kind of like did the, step back and went, what do you mean somebody else can do it? And she was right. And so I actually texted my brother and I said, I need you to step up.
mm,
I can't do everything. We both live 12 hours away from our mom. She's dementia, definitely needs help, but we have like put steps in place. But I said to him, I go, like, I have all these things going on right now. You're retired. I need you to go. And it was hard to do that because I know my mom's more comfortable when it's the dog. There's just something about that, right? And I know he's more comfortable when it's me instead of him. But yeah, we do have to take those steps and let others be part of it, because we're also taking away their gift when we assume it all.
that's exactly right. It's really doing a disservice to the people in our lives when we don't allow them to grow. And I remember I always have this incredible therapist. She's so good. And at one point she said, Jackie, it's not your job to hold people accountable. It's your job to hold people capable.
Ooh, love that.
I know. Isn't that
Yeah, great
fantastic?
reframe.
Yeah. It's so helpful. And in those moments where I'm feeling, discomfort or a lack of trust or whatever that looks like, I'm like, my job is to hold this person capable. And how are they ever going to become that if I don't allow the learning, the mistakes, all that kind of stuff? So,
Absolutely.
yeah.
Well, and that's a great segue into my next question, because, and I know we both hear this, we'll get high achieving women all of us do this, you know, oh, if I just do it myself, it'll get done faster, it'll get done right. Similar to your video comment, right?
Yeah.
It'll be exactly the way I want it. But at what point does independence stop being a strength and start becoming that self protection when we're always saying, you know, it's just
Yeah.
easier if I do it?
I read something at one point that talked about how fierce independence is a trauma response.
Mm,
And I've never forgotten that because, it is. It's a control thing. It's I want to control my environment. And so I think a lot about that. The ability to trust is intimately tied to my ability to kind of let go and trust what's happening around me. So I guess that's where I would go with that question, that independence is wonderful. Too much independence is not wonderful. And, you know, part of the breast cancer journey for me was learning about community and learning the power of community, and that I had never really understood exactly what so critical about it because I was a fiercely independent person. And so now that I understand community, I'm like, oh, honey, you've missed so much.
wow. Oh, that's beautiful. I do want to, I'm going to come back to the community piece because I think that is important, but I do want to tap into something you just shared about the trauma response. Because I do agree with you. I think we are it's trauma and conditioned, not always not always from a negative perspective, not
Yeah.
intentional to make it a trauma, but yeah, like why do we do that? Why do we feel this need? Like what happens in our lives that make us so fiercely independent?
I agree with you that so I think it's part conditioning, part society, part this culture that we live in, where it's good to be fiercely independent. It's good to bootstrap your way. And, I was taught from a very young age that, my great, great, great grandfather did this so that our great, the next one, each generation stands on the shoulders of the previous generation. And you do your job so that your kids can stand on your shoulders. And so I think it's baked into American culture. That's part of it. I think that there's also, there's something noble about it,
Yeah.
where it's part of our storytelling. It's part of our movies. It's the superhero movie, where the person goes out and overcomes something. And so it's baked into how we think. So I think it's very hard to overcome that
Mhm.
and to remember that we're not at our best when we're on our own.
Yeah. And we're not superhuman. Like I just had a visual when you were saying that of, you know, I'm dressed in my little Wonder Woman suit, my
I
hands on my hips going, "Oh yeah, bring it on. I can take on all this."
I
And
know.
the reality is, no, you can't.
No, you
And
can't.
even she has her own little posse.
She does, and it's so funny. I've been doing these, like, AI superhero, photos that I put on LinkedIn, and it's so funny because it's fun and it's cute, and I, started one with, like, me riding a dragon because I race dragon boats with my team of all breast cancer survivors,
Love it.
and it's fun, but, like, it was just me in the superhero suit riding a dragon, but the truth is I'm in a boat with 21 other women. And so, yeah, we are not superheroes, but I think when we are with other people, when we're in that community, we can be.
Yeah, agreed. Agreed. Funny when you were just saying that a moment ago, because when I told you I was writing on the weekend, working on my thesis, one of the things that I talked about in that was that this has been what I would consider a badge of honor. And breaking that story down becomes so important because it goes back to what you were saying about making people capable. And it's so true. And even as a mother, I've always said my job is to raise you to be self-sufficient, independent. And I do believe that to a degree, but you have that support, right? And so, you know, even when you look at family, like you have that community. And let's talk about that because you write extensively about building your village or having that village around you. And North American culture, we don't do that so much. European cultures, Asian culture, it very much is about the village. So Where do you think that comes from? Like, why do we not let more people in?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think we have moved away from that kind of culture, but I actually see a shift back to it now, which we can talk about later. But I think that I want to share this story really quickly because my daughter, when I was raising her, she's 18 now. And when I took her to preschool, she was 3 years old. And I would sing her this little song, and it said, Independent preschooler. Yeah.
Okay, she's a singer too, ladies.
Uh-huh. Yes. And then it was kindergarten, independent kindergartner. Yeah. All the way up. And even first year student in college. And so right now, as I shared, before we got on the call, she is on a, 2-month Arctic Circle canoe trip with
Independence, there you go.
Independence. But she has taught me something about community because she cares so deeply about us, her circle of friends. And yeah, I mean, there's so much about our working culture that's independence driven, and I must strive and I must achieve, and even at the expense of other people sometimes. And so I think it's just baked into a capitalist culture, honestly. And when there have been some really interesting stories along the way where I'm seeing this swing back the other direction, and where you see the moments of community where you see what you're missing. And so I think that more and more people are seeing that we're losing something by going so full force into what can I build, what can I make, what can I achieve, how much can I make, and this drive to achieve that is so much an individualist pursuit.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, yes, I totally agree with that. And that only goes so far because one day you wake up and then you're all alone. And then what? All
Then
that
what?
money that you made, all the achievements that you had, who are you going to share that with? Who are you going to talk to about that? Like, yeah,
Yeah. Yeah,
it's,
and you probably have this too. I mean, I work with so many folks who reach the top and they're like, it is so lonely here.
yes, yes. Yes, actually, that's in my thesis as well. It's lonely at the top. So,
Yes.
how do you create your village? How do you create your
Yeah.
support system? And, ladies listening in and gentlemen listening in, this is such an important topic. Like, when you get to the top, how do you continue to even grow if you're all alone? And
Yeah.
so that becomes super important. And you brought this up a minute ago, but I often talk about trust as a foundation of leadership. So, how much of our reluctance to ask for help is truly that trust issue? And not trusting others or not trusting ourselves enough to receive. Like, we're really good at giving, but receiving.
I think trust is a critical part of this whole thing. And there was a moment I will never forget this. I was hired to be one of the keynote speakers at a 2-day event for a big, multinational organization, for their entire regional leaders. And it was wonderful. It was this wonderful 2-day retreat for their leaders. At the end of it, the person that put it on had all of the speakers and the folks that had put on the event sit in a room together. And she said, okay, now I want to go around the circle and I want everyone to tell what they noticed about everybody basically in the room. We're going to go around the circle and you're going to receive all these compliments
Mm.
that people observed about you through this retreat and this whole experience of putting this thing on. And so we each had a turn, and I remember dreading my turn, which is so bizarre that I would dread receiving compliments, but it was uncomfortable. And they got to me, and then every single person in the circle said something wonderful and kind, and something that they had noticed about how I had showed up that week. And I just remember sitting there like I had done something wrong. It was so bizarre to just receive and receive and receive. So there is something about it's vulnerable to receive. And I didn't really understand. This is going to sound strange. I understand love, but I didn't really understand love
Mm.
and receiving. And so when I was diagnosed with breast cancer, my first instinct was don't tell anyone. Hide it from everybody. This is a weakness. This is a problem, right? It makes you super vulnerable. I didn't want to be vulnerable. And so then you have to be vulnerable because it brings you to your knees. And what I witnessed in all of that was I received whether I wanted to or not. I received at some point in the journey because I had no other choice but to receive. And so it was so beautiful to witness the village rising up to support me and putting the softest hats they could find in my mailbox and, finding a loaf of banana bread on my porch and all of these just beautiful little signs of love and community. And I had to receive them graciously. And and there was a part, a moment in all of that where I just remember distinctly feeling like I'm a part of this community. I'm not alone, and receiving is part of it. It was gorgeous. I will never forget that learning ever,
That's
and I'm so glad.
beautiful.
Yeah.
Beautiful story. And I think that's true for men and women because,
Yeah,
I see men who have difficulty receiving. And maybe it's because when you were talking about the circle where my thoughts went to was, well, we're taught to be humble and not to, accept that. It's like, you just pretend. And it's also why women will, when we're running or leading teams, we will say we instead of I,
that's right.
right? Which over time depletes your own achievement and credibility as a woman leader because
Yeah.
you give your credit away, you give it away to others. And so
Yes.
that conditioning that we talked about earlier comes back into play, I
Mhm.
think, from receiving. And just like you, Jacquelyn, I'm same thing. It's like you get a compliment and it's like, oh, well, and it's like, instead of just saying thank you, because it's a gift that's given to you. And if somebody brought a gift to your home, you wouldn't just be like, oh, I don't want that. No, it's a
Yeah.
gift. And that one I think is difficult to reframe, but we need to do more of that. Like I think it feels our soul on a much deeper level when you see how people see you. Like that experience you talked about, that's a beautiful experience.
Yeah, and you know what's funny? The reframe on that for me is that there's a person in my life who will not receive, who has a big challenge receiving. And every time my gift is not received, I feel rejected.
Yes, likewise. Yes, I agree
Yes.
with you. Yes.
So that really has been helping me to receive more generously because I both first I had to think about the other person like this is a rejection of them. And then I started actually letting the compliments land and to just own them. Like you were talking about, you have to claim your achievements. This is part of that. And to just allow the compliment to land and be like, yeah, I did a great job, or I am a wonderful part of this community, or I'm leading in a way that's helping to develop people, or whatever that is for you. It's really critically important. And I think that's where self trust comes in,
Yes.
right? That you trust yourself. You don't throw yourself under the bus. You allow the compliments in. I mean, it's so much about the gentleness that we steward ourselves with. I think it's connected to that
Yeah.
and our self trust.
Love that. Love that. And such an important topic when you start looking at self-trust because that when you have that self trust in yourself, it allows you to not let all the doubt come in, not let all the, the gremlin or the little saboteur in your brain saying, Jacquelyn, what are you doing? Or Vicki, why are you giving yourself? No, no. Then you start to really honor
Hmm.
who you are.
That's right.
Yeah.
And the self trust does not extinguish ambition. It does not extinguish your motivation. It doesn't at all. When you really trust yourself to set good boundaries, to say no when you have to give yourself the ability to just let the compliments land and feel good about them. When you allow yourself to do all of that, I believe that your energy for doing the thing that you're put here to do actually increases.
Yeah. Yeah. I would agree. I would agree. It's like that little extra push that you need sometimes,
Yeah.
right? Just to keep things going. So, sometimes we create our village, but then it no longer reflects the life we're trying to build.
Yeah.
So, how do you lovingly outgrow those relationships and opening yourself to the healthier ones that are actually being called into your space.
Yeah, first of all, I think it's critically important that we do that, right? We allow those new relationships in and begin to create community around the person that you want to evolve into, so that you're surrounding yourself with people who are living the life, the version of the life that you really want to live. Like, that's how we make it real to ourselves. That's how you see what's even possible. I think it's impossible to see for yourself what's possible for you if you're surrounded by people who can't see either. And so, every time I am ready to level up into a new level of my business or my emotional world or any of that, I really do take a look at who I'm surrounded by. And I make intentional choices about changing that community or shifting that in some way. So that's part one. Part two is the communities that I'm a part of that might not serve in the same way that they used to. I look at, is there something about this person or this community that I still get a lot out of? And if so, then I will find another way to engage. I will just, maybe not so often, I will do it in these ways, more of a social thing, or let's go, and play pickleball instead. But I will just kind of slowly start to shift. If it's an unhealthy relationship, then it's got to go. And I've done that letting go well, and I have done it not well, both. And so I try not to ghost people, but I have. It sometimes feels like those relationships, when you step into a new level, they kind of automatically all by themselves dissipate.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I find that as somebody who usually is the one to make the call, to set up the meeting, to get together, to schedule the thing, that if I stop doing that, they tend to just fall away.
Yeah. Yeah, it's true. It gives you real clarity on who's driving the relationship.
Right. Yes. And if they don't ever call you and be like, hey, I noticed you haven't called.
Yeah. Yeah. Like reciprocity is very important in relationships.
Yeah.
And there is the give and take
Yeah.
always. But I think sometimes when you know, right? And you can have other influences in that community who try to keep certain individuals in that circle.
Yeah.
And it's also being transparent with them to say that doesn't serve any longer. And that's okay for you to have those relationships. But for me, this is what I need. And, you know, I think some of that, there's a lot of guilt associated with that. And it's how to release that guilt and know that, I love that saying, a season, a reason, or a lifetime. And it's so true. Like
Yes.
people come in and maybe it's just to teach you something and it's okay for them to leave. And then there will be others who stay for a really long time.
That's right. The way that I always think about this is a metaphor that a friend of mine gave me. And she said, that your life is, if you think about your relationships like a swimming pool.
Mm.
So I have a friend who she taught me this wonderful metaphor about a swimming pool. And she said, if your relationships are like a swimming pool, there are some folks that they're on the edge of the pool. And they walk around the pool and you see them from time to time, and that's just fine. And that's where they're supposed to be. There are some people that they dip a toe into the pool. Other folks, they get into the shallow end with you, and then they kind of get out, and that's just fine. And there are only a small handful of people that get in the deep end with you. And that's how it's supposed to be. And so I think about the swimming pool when I think about relationships. The other thing I think about is, I work so much with people around voice
Mm.
and around claiming your voice, around architecting story and using your voice in a bigger way. And one of the things that we think about when we think about voice is getting on big stages, writing books, being public, doing a podcast, all of that, being a thought leader in the world. But the other way that we have to practice voice and learn how to use voice is asking for help, saying, this isn't working for me anymore. I can't be a part of this community. I need to take a step back. And, asking for support is a way of using voice that's really challenging, and it takes a lot of practice.
Yeah, it does. And that's beautiful. I love that metaphor, by the way. I think that's a great one. I don't know, my season, reason, and lifetime might expand now to the swimming pool. And you're absolutely right. Using that voice of what doesn't serve you and what does serve you. That is practice. And you said this yourself, and I would agree for myself also. Sometimes we do it really well. Sometimes we don't do it so well because it just the way things play out often, but being okay to be okay, I think that's a big one. So I am going to start to wrap us up here, but one thing I'd like you to do is share with our audience, what's one myth about asking for help that you'd love to eliminate today?
The myth that I would like to completely eradicate around asking for help is that it is weak. It is not weak. It is strength. It is belonging. It is being part of the human family. It is.
Love that. Yeah, such a gift. I love that. And audience, I hope you take that to heart today, that you recognize that asking for help is you're actually giving a gift to someone else. Jacquelyn, I loved when you shared a moment ago about somebody bringing you a gift, or when you took a gift, to how it made you feel when they declined it. Trying to put yourself in those shoes when that gift is given to you and receive it graciously. Love that. So where can people find you, Jacquelyn?
Yeah, so you can find me at JacquelynFletcherJohnson.com is my main website. And then I founded the Gateway Gathering and Pitch Fest, which is a conference that's kind of part education inspiration around building a thought leadership platform and part Shark Tank America's Got Talent. So
love it.
Yes. So people get up and use their voices and ask to be seen in front of agents and editors and literary agents, speaker agents, the head of TED content. And so you can find more information about that at gateway-project.com.
Love it. We'll make sure that's in the show notes as well. But love that. And that is a great platform to exercise your voice. And what do you want to be known for? Beautiful. Wow. So I'm gonna wrap us up here, but I want to offer to our audience, if this resonates with you, I want to leave you with one question. What invisible load are you carrying that no one knows about? What is that you've been so afraid to share? And who is one person you can go to and share it with? And by the way, if you don't have somebody in your village, you can reach out to me. You can reach out to Jacquelyn. We would be honored to hear what that invisible load is. So leadership isn't about proving how much you can hold. And we've talked about that quite a bit today. It's about having the courage to recognize when the weight has become too much and allowing others to help you. So when you walk away from this episode, re-listen to it, think about, what are you carrying that you don't need to carry? If you're navigating this invisible load in leadership, trust, caregiving, simply trying to hold everything together. You don't have to do it alone. You're not alone. You've got a network of people. And as I said, you can reach out to us. At Women in Leadership Empowered, we create these spaces where women leaders can pause, reflect, rebuild self-trust, and develop support systems they deserve. Whether that's through coaching, community, leadership development, there's strength in choosing not to carry it all. And you heard Jacquelyn just say that myth is breaking. It's not a weakness. It is a strength to reach out and build your support system. And if this episode resonates with you and you have a woman in your life who's carrying that load, make sure you share with her. Make sure you give us a thumbs up. Let us know, give us a review. Let us know what you thought of this. And remember, the strongest leaders aren't the ones who carry the most. They're the ones who know when it's time to share the load. Jacquelyn, I am so grateful to you. This was such a great conversation. Thank you for being here. You can tell I'm very passionate about this.
I love it. I love it.
And you're so inspiring. So thank you. Thank you for sharing your knowledge, your wisdom with us today. And we look forward to having you back on the show again. And also for our audience, thank you for chiming in, and be sure to share this episode. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Vicki.
Thank you for joining us for Will Talk, sponsored by Women in Leadership Empowered. To learn more about our programs, please visit www.willempowered.com. We look forward to seeing you in our community.